Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. It is nice to see that in this times of austerity, when, the cost of living is so hard and that bills are constantly rising, that the MPs at Westminster have awarded themselves a nice 5.5% rise, about 1.5% above inflation. A nice little rise. Because it's hard, isn't it? It's hard being an MP, all that sitting around, talking, sleeping, doing bugger all. That, you do need to have more money, even more money, because, you're better than everyone else. Everyone else, they get told, oh, you're going to tighten your belt, pull it all in. But not us, of course. We're going to give ourselves a nice little pay rise. How very, very wonderful for you. Let's take a look at this to see what they're getting and if they are worth it. Spoiler, no, they're not. Let's go. So MPs handed 5.5% pay rise, which will see politicians earn over £90,000 a year. It is a absolute joke, isn't it? I mean, they say we're all in this together, but while we're sitting here drowning, they're sitting on the sun deck of a luxury yacht, sipping champagne that we're paying for. MPs are set to get a 5.5% rise to over £90,000 a year. From next month, their salary will be £91,346. And if you're a cabinet minister, even more. Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority said the decision had been taken in line with the award recently agreed for the senior civil service. The increase is considerably larger than the 2.9% pay uplift last year. Oh, bless it, they only get nearly 3% last year. Do you know how much I got? On that occasion, the Expenses Watchdog said it had considered very carefully the extremely difficult economic backdrop. Oh, has the cost of living crisis disappeared already? I forgot to look how cheap food and petrol have become. My God, I must have missed that. It's also higher than the rate of the Consumer Price Index inflation, which the latest Office for National Statistics, words are hard, suggests stood at 4% in January. So they're getting, where it's a 4% rise, they're getting a 5.5% rise. Now, that's, 30% above inflation? It's a joke, isn't it? Chair of IPSA, Richard Lloyd, said IPSA has been responsible for deciding MPs' pay since 2011. Now, why they've done that, right, is that they fobbed it off to IPSA. And what they said was, it looks better. We're not voting for our own pay rises, because previously they voted for their own pay rises. But by foisting it onto IPSA, it's a get-out clause, because the senior civil service, and we're talking here from sort of cabinet secretary, the head of the civil service, that is decided by an independent body. And we use the word independent quite inappropriately because it's actually run as a committee within Parliament. So what it is Parliament say, oh no, the body that decides pay decides it for the public the civil service. We're completely independent. We don't decide on our own pay. However, MP's pay is linked to that of senior civil servants, for which is decided on by a committee in Parliament. Stinks a bit, doesn't it? Talk about marking your own homework. Now, technically, there are independent voices on there, but there are also MP voices on there. So it's a very, very weird thing. You've got civil servants, MPs, and an independent body. But the very fact that the MPs are on that board means that they are influencing their own pay. Not independent as you'd like to think. Only they get around it and say, oh, but we're not saying what the MP's pay is. We're saying what the civil servants' pay is. It's just coincidental that our pay is linked. It stinks. It's weak old fish, isn't it? Anyway, Chair of IPSA, Richard Lloyd, said, IPSA has been responsible for all this time. Our aim is to make fair decisions on pay, both for MPs and the public. Well, halve the salaries. If you want to be fair to the public, halve the salaries of MPs. Let me tell you, if you halve the salary of MPs, and then a few of them would leave, they'd be really, and they'd leave. I tell you what, if you said, right, let's go, boom, there'd be a queue from here to Inverness. It has nothing to do with the money, and it's all to do with the power. Anyway, serving as an MP should not be reserved to those wealthy enough to fund it themselves. Yes, I agree. It should be a salary, but it should be a reflective salary. 50,000 a year, sufficient. Absolutely sufficient. 50,000 a year and a travel card. There you go. You're not paying for your travel to get there. Boom, done. What's the problem? He said, we believe our decision recognised the vital role play in our democracy. Really? They don't ever listen to people. They want your vote 1x every 5 years, but after that they don't care. So it's hardly democratic. There's no local democracy. Indeed, they're trying to remove democracy from the local area. They want to try and centralise everything because they're all control freaks, especially in Scotland. Anyway, it considers the continued economic challenges facing the country. So yes, they admit there's an economic challenge and they're still going to award a way above inflation pay rise. Sweet, if you can get the job, isn't it? It said, we're committed to supporting a parliament that reflects our society, where people from all walks of life can decide to become MPs. Yeah, really. That's not how it works though, is it? It's all strictly controlled by the big four. You can't just walk in and be an MP. There's very few independents. IPSA was created in 2009, largely as a response to the MP's expenses scandal, in a bid to make payments more transparent and to reach independent decision on salaries. Here's my suggestion, and I've done this before, but very quickly, as a sideline. Somewhere in Westminster, they build an office block, but it's not an office block. It's dwellings. It's simple student dwelling type thing. There'll be a small bedroom, a small office, small kitchenette, and a shower, something like toilet and shower, something like that. And that way, people who live outside of, say, the M25 get allocated one of these little offices, one of these little rooms, so that when there are late night sittings and things, instead of having to travel all the way home and blah blah blah, they have their room. Now that's their room for their duration as an MP. People who live within the M25 can just get their own way home kind of thing. But that's fine. That would do there. That way, there's no massive constantly having to travel up and down because you come down on a Monday, you stay there a week, you go home on a Friday, that sort of thing. You know, it's there. It saves money. It's got to be cheaper in the long run. You're not forking out for travel all the time. It's a one-off cost. You can spread it out over 20 years. Bang, job's a good one. It's not hard. I see it. And that way you can cut down on that, on the expenses costs. You're not having to maintain second homes, are you? You're not having to be able to do all this. Oh, I need a duck house for my moat. Literally one of the expenses claims. No. It's maintained. You have your house that you pay for, then you have this flat that Parliament pays for, and that's it. It cuts the expenses scandal. Anyway, I shall stop there. Come up, and we shall finish the video. Now, I remember many years ago, I was once called into the boss's office. It was about 2 days before Christmas, I think. It was the last day, but we broke. I think Christmas was, say, Thursday, and this was the Tuesday, and we were going off to do the Christmas meal, and then we finished. No, we never worked on Christmas Eve. If Christmas Eve was a weekend, we always got the Friday off as well, so we all got that extra day. Little perk of the boss. Anyway, we sit there. So I get dragged into the chairman's office, and he sits there and he goes, blah, 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 blah. He says, we looked and we've done the review this year for pay. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, yeah, well, you've done this, you've uplifted that, you've saved that, blah, 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 blah. I went, oh, yeah. He said, yeah. So, and he handed me an envelope. He said, don't open it now. He said, open it when you get home. So I was meeting my wife that day. And I said, look, we sat in a pub and we're just having a quick drink with her after work. I said, I'll just open this now. And then I stood there and I looked at her and went, oh, my God. And I showed her. And I had an 18% pay rise. To this day, I've never had more in a single go. It was immense pay rise. And I just went straight away then, well, more beer. We got slaughtered. Biggest pay rise I ever had. And that would have been 2010, something like that. So it was after the 2008 crash. But, you know, it was massive. Well, I had taken on a lot. But I'd earned that pay rise, and it wasn't coming out of public funds. Why should I sit here struggling? Why should we all sit here struggling to give them a pay rise that they don't deserve? It's unbelievable, isn't it? Especially as they're not paying so much in national insurance now. Hey, they've already got their pay rise factored in. They're going to be a lot better off, aren't they? Anyway, so stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video, and I shall speak to you later. Bye.